Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for our latest installment in the Conga Alliance Partner Showcase webinar series. The purpose of this webinar is to introduce our customers to the consulting partners that we work with on a regular basis and to give you the opportunity to get to know more about their practice, the services that they offer, in addition to highlighting their own Conga implementation and solution. Today we have the pleasure of showcasing two Conga Alliance partners, Able Cloud Advisors and Sputnik Moment. Each presenter will talk for approximately 15 minutes and we'll also have a 15-minute section at the end of the webinar to answer any questions, so please do hold your questions until the end. This webinar will be recorded and posted to our website should you care to review it or share it with colleagues at a later date. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Annette Able with Able Cloud Advisors.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me okay? Chris? Oh, goodness. Chris, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I got worried there.
Annette, you're fine. You're all set.
Right. Okay, so we'll get started. 15 minutes. I have 3 different case studies from 2 clients and then one from my very own company because I run the entire company on Salesforce, everything from leads using the web to lead form through to invoicing. So I live and breathe those things that I recommend to my clients, and we live in the same environment, understands the shortcuts sometimes Salesforce presents to us and how apps like Conga can help us make up for those shortcuts. So going right into it, the 3 case studies are, first 2 are using Conga Composer and the last is using Conga Conductor. And Chris can attest, I think I've been working with Conga for 6 plus 7 more years, and I still don't know the difference between Conductor and Composer. I can't keep it straight. But I know them when I see them, and when I call the Conga guys always know how to help me regardless of what I'm using. There's a bunch of other things available in the Conga suite that I do leverage, some of them in these case studies, but those are the 2 main ones that I take advantage of. And the way I try to mentally recall which is Composer to me is one-off document generation within a record in Salesforce, and Composer is more, can be one-off document generation, but usually involves the email distribution of it as well. I'm sure I'm misrepresenting that, so Chris, you can correct me. But we'll go on to case study number 4, which is my slide, or case study number 1, which is my slide 4. And for anybody who's worked with my organization, I tell it like it is. I know what pain my clients are going through, and I know what their internal customers and their Salesforce.com users are dealing with and their attitudes sometimes. So the first case study is how to quiet the I have to do everything twice whiners. So bear with me as Chris catches up on the slides. I'm going to go right to slide. Oh, yours is 5. Go forward 2 more slides for me, Chris. Sorry, the numbering got off. All right, so here's case study number 1. Set the situation. Your sales reps are entering as little information into Salesforce as possible, really only the required fields. You know the proposal quality is hit and miss, maybe dismal at best, where the information that you want to be collected in Salesforce.com is overlapping quite a bit with the same information that needs to be regurgitated, if you will, for lack of a better word, in the proposal to confirm that we know who we're working with at the client account, that we know what the business issues are, we know how we're going to solve them, and all those kinds of bits and pieces of information about how you're going to position your company to win this work, you would think would be captured in Salesforce and then also be captured in the proposal. And what's happening is people know that they have to manually generate that proposal. They know that that's going to take the bulk of their time, so they're going to put the least bit that they can in Salesforce because they're just going to have to repeat it again in the proposal format, whatever that may be, Word, Excel, whatever. So if you want to go ahead, Chris, to the next slide. The solution that we were able to use, and this is truly the, if you want to run from 0 to 100, if your user adoption is really low, this is the lightning bolt solution that I would propose, which is on your opportunity record, where you're collecting information about the account, people in contact roles, the amount, the close date, all the stuff that you would think you would need to know and want in your CRM system. You can leverage that to create your proposal out of Salesforce with one button, and nobody has to do anything but click the button. It's well structured, it's branded the way you want, legals approve the template, and what you end up getting out of it, and Chris, if you want to advance one slide, they can see visually what I'm referencing. If I'm on the opportunity object, what they're getting out of it, your sales reps, is basically a proposal that's 80% of the way done. The manually intensive work that just takes time that we can't not do gets done by clicking this. And then the 20% of the proposal that needs to be customized with their individual flavor and language and information that isn't captured in a field in Salesforce, great, they get to spend their time on that 20%. But it gets you, I hate the expression killing two birds with one stone. I'm such an animal activist, but that came to mind first, so I guess that means something bad. But it usually when I bring this up to clients, they just write it off immediately. Nope, nope, nope. Our proposals are special. They're customized for each solution. La 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 la. Well, guess what? Anytime I have been challenged, I go around, take an inventory of the proposals that have been sent out by their sales reps for the last month, print them out, and let them see them. And let me tell you, it's a rude awakening sometimes. And the other thing is, sometimes Salesforce is collecting one bit of information, but the proposal's referencing something else entirely. And so then there's a disconnect, and it kind of begs the question of why do you have a CRM in the first place? So I know I only have 15 minutes, but if you do happen to notice the button to the left of draft contract, and that's the button that I built using Conga Composer, and we're going to look at the code for that in a moment. Not that I want us to get into the code, but I really want you to be able to appreciate what Conga can help you do. Once that proposal is finalized, so the sales rep adds his or her 20% to it, we attach it to the opportunity, and then we submit it for approval internally. So we get the executive buy-off that this final version of this proposal is okay to send out to a client. So in case you're wondering what that's about and how you might incorporate this proposal building function into a bigger scheme, if you will. Chris, would you mind popping forward one slide? And you can go ahead and do enter again. This first part of our button code, and believe me, I don't know what I'm looking at right now, so don't stress if you aren't either, because this part is copy-paste. We just do what Conga tells us. This next part, Chris, if you could press return, this one line of code is just saying, I'm on opportunity record ABC, and when I click this button, I want you to pull in all the information relative to ABC, so it knows where you are. It's opportunity specific. And then here's the real meat and potatoes, if you go ahead, Chris. This query ID, if anybody knows, the mail merge functionality that we all get natively in Salesforce is so limited. I honestly don't even have a single client using it because it's just so restrictive. Imagine where you want to pull in data from, this is 6 different reports, or what were going to be reports, but I couldn't even get my Salesforce reports to pull in all the data fields that I needed. And so when reports are too limiting, Conga gives us what's called a Conga query. And I was able to build 6 queries that reached up and down and over and out all over the place to grab the data that I needed. Even though my entry point, if you will, was that single opportunity. I was reaching up to the account, I was reaching over through a lookup to something else. And I mean, it's massive. I'm probably pulling in 40 to 50 fields through these 6 queries. And then I think there's one more line of code. That code is just telling my users that when they click on that button, they don't even have to think about what Conga template to select. It's already telling them what template. So they can't do anything wrong. This is dummy proof. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. But we all have those people that we work with, and the more simple you can make this, the better. So let's go on to the next slide. And I just want, again, through that query reference that I made a moment ago, I'm pulling those 50 or so fields from all of these different objects that are related to that central opportunity record. Chris, you can press return again. And it's a lot. It's involved. That data architecture is pretty complex. It's very purposeful, and there's no other mail merge function that would allow me to get to all that data with one button, except for Conga. So go ahead, Chris. The net is that we are able to pull in these 50 fields. They might not have been secured otherwise. So that information is somewhere, someone's desktop, in their Outlook, wherever the case may be, or maybe just hiding in this one-time only Word document that we sent out as a proposal, but that data is not living anywhere. Now instead, I've shifted everything. I've really turned everything on its head, and I've said, put everything into Salesforce, and then I'm going to spit it out for you as a proposal. Again, 80% of the way there is usually the way I try to propose it or position it, because clients kind of get their hair all up in a whirl about proposal being, kind of mass produced without any customization and personalization. So that's how I present that. We'll go on to the second case study. Oh, I put the slide in here on purpose for my own memory. Another real big bonus is that anything I have been able to throw at these Conga people, they have been able to accommodate. And so if you have a complex configuration like I do and like my clients do, they have what they're using opportunity record types. And each record type is meant to embody the details about the billing arrangement. So is it time and materials? Is it a fixed bid? Is it this? Is it that? Is a subcontractor involved? And that way, using the opportunity record type, you're collecting and forcing the collection of information that's pertinent based on that billing arrangement. Well, the beautiful part about Conga is that each time they click that draft contract button, it is looking to that opportunity record type and giving them the correct template. So even though behind the scenes I may have 5 different proposal templates that are basically your SOWs with signature pages and terms and agreements, even though I might have 5 different ones, my sales rep doesn't have to think about it. If he or she has entered that opportunity properly using the record type, everything else is done without them having to think about it. So it's really, I just can't even emphasize how awesome that is, because no one was ever using the right one anyway. So we can go on now, Chris. Thank you. Case study number 2. This is for my own organization. And so the reality is, I think a lot of us, even though I'm a one-man band, I think a lot of us, small businesses, even larger businesses, struggle with the time and effort it takes to distribute invoices. And so what I was finding is that I was literally want to cry when the end of the month came, because I knew that generating my invoices was just going to be nothing less than painful and very time consuming, probably 8+ hours a month, which I'm not billing for. So that's not really time I want to be wasting. Then I was storing the invoices on network folders, and I wasn't keeping everything together. Yet I'm living the life that I tell my clients to live, which is, make the CRM system do all that it can. We're paying an unworldly amount for our Salesforce.com licenses. We ought to be making this system do as much as possible. And Conga helps me do that now, because before I wasn't even putting my own time into Salesforce. That's where I do all my time entry and keep track of things, but there wasn't an incentive to do so because I had to do my billing outside of Salesforce anyway. So like if I wrote all my time on a piece of paper, fine. That was fine. Now I've flipped that on its head, just the way I did with the last case study, and I've said, well, hold up. Let's use a CRM system the way that we intended. I know I'm taking it a little farther because I'm taking it beyond the sale through to the actual execution of the work and the time entries related to that. But if you go to the next slide, Chris, I was able to use Conga Composer just like I did the last case study, where I created a button on a custom object, the project object in my instance of Salesforce, that would generate the email, the document, the invoice itself, attach it to an email, draft the email using an email template. Everything's already set up so it knows who it is sending to, who it's copying, if anybody needs to be sent, it's logging the activity, the whole thing. And now all I have to do at the end of the month, so long as I have entered my time, all I have to do is click one button. And so, Chris, if you want to, I thought I'd take us through a real quick demo of what that is. If you want to make me presenter before we move on to case study 3, I'll go into my instance and show you how that works. And I should have probably closed all these other applications. So let me do that. Oh, Annette, I tell you, sometimes. All right, so here's one of my project objects, and I know this is kind of small, but I keep track of, you know, what it was originally billed for, what my billing rate is, markups, the whole thing, and here's where I'm entering all my time. I have a timesheet UI where I do that. I can do it on my phone, I can do it in Salesforce, wherever. But you'll notice every time I'm entering time, I'm saying, is it billable? What kind of time was it? When I have different rates for different types of work that I do, it's calculating the hours times the rate, and then generating an invoice. And every timesheet entry is a line on that invoice with all the detail that my clients would want. So that's pretty cool. Then there's another example, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I want to make sure that my customers know when I'm doing work for them that is either using up support hours that come as part of a contract, so maybe 30 post-launch hours, or maybe they committed to a bulk set of hours where they paid up front, so I'm not billing them per month because they paid up front, but I do want them to know what they've used of their prepaid hours. I can do that. So this particular line item, I made it up, it's a dummy line item, for 21 and 2.25 hours, even though there's nothing billed, if I were to click my Generate Invoice button, and this is all set up behind the scenes to say, I can bill for the month prior, list each item. I'm going to go ahead and click email so you can see what that looks like, how quick and easy it is. Ho-hum, I'm taking a, you know, this is a Saturday morning, I'm having some coffee instead of ripping my hair out. It is automatically populating who the email is going to go to. It's giving it a subject line. It's using an HTML email. It's doing a simple mail merge for that. And it's also attaching the invoice way down here. And I'm going to go ahead and open that so you can see just how branded and how customized you can get with this. And so it's feeding in the date, it's feeding in the invoice number, it's feeding in the billing address, and it's filling in, I only have one for October, but it's filling in a line item per timesheet entry, which can be pretty huge. And then even though I'm not billing anything, if I had 10 line items, it tallies it up down here. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I know it looks really simple, just whipping through it there in less than a minute, but to me, that's 8 hours of time per month, if not more, that I'm gaining. And I'm doing a better job by keeping my time. I think I was really probably underbilling because I wasn't putting my time in Salesforce the way I should. So I just wanted to share that. Chris, if you want to take back control of the screen, you can. and we'll go on to the last case study. Am I okay on time? I'm going to assume I am. This one I'll just go through real quick. So imagine all of us, if we had our druthers, we would be asking our clients, how well are we doing? What's, are you satisfied with our work? But the reality is we don't have enough resources just sitting around with nothing to do to remember to send out what might be a post-project survey, whether it's email or paper-based, whatever the case may be. And my client and I, there's something specific about his particular setup where time-based workflows and off-the-shelf email templates were not going to let us do what we wanted to do, even though you would think you could. So for instance, I can't get an email, a time-based workflow to send an email to a contact referenced on an opportunity record or someone in an opportunity contact role on an opportunity record. So even though I'm using the system the way it's intended, I can't use native out-of-the-box functionality that Salesforce gives me to get these things done. So that's why I have to look to Conga. I believe this is a Composer solution. I could totally be wrong. Once a week, or once a day, excuse me, we're looking at Conductor. And if you want to go to the next slide, Chris, I think it might give us a little bit more information. Yeah, I'll talk to this. Could you go forward to one more slide? Thank you. I have this Composer. I'm always misreferencing them, Conductor or Composer, so forgive me. But I have this report that Composer looks at every morning, and if there's any opportunities that meet the filter criteria that are listed here in the report, it'll be listed as a single row or record in this report, and at 12 midnight or 8 a.m., whatever time I have it scheduled for, Composer will send out that email to the designated person referencing the opportunity that met this criteria. Nobody has to remember to do anything. The system does it for us. So I just wanted to reference what's feeding this is not me clicking a button on an opportunity record, but instead behind the scenes every morning on a set schedule, it's looking at this report. So if you go back or go forward one more slide, Chris. This is the email that actually goes out, so that's cool. I'm sending it as an HTML email, and I'm referencing the activity itself, both on the opportunity and on the recipient's contact record. So I have it in both places, which is pretty cool. And then that drives them to an online survey. And if you go forward one more slide. This is my Conductor schedule, if you will, and it's really simple. I created the report, I'm telling it what to do, I'm referencing what email to send, and we're done. I mean, it takes some time to do the setup, but the effort, the return on that effort is just, I can't even begin to describe how awesome it is that gets done and nobody has to worry about it's getting done. Just as a point, in case you're curious, I have another client that's doing the same thing, but they are actually having, and this is involving code, and I don't believe it's involving Conga, but just as an example to kind of share with you the possibilities of what could be done, is that same email is going out using Conductor, but it's driving the person to what is a specific web page that when they answer the 3 questions for the online survey, that data actually comes back into Salesforce under a custom survey object. And that takes some mojo, if you will, but it's an idea so that you kind of, again, start to think, how do I bring all my systems together? Yeah, that's great that Conductor can help me get out the survey, but then my survey data is living somewhere else. There are means to bring it all together. So I'm happy to let my co-presenter go and then answer any questions at the end.
Annette, it's Chris. Thank you so much for such a great variety of examples of the proposal and approval process. I like that you use dummy proof, but you could also use foolproof and be a little less direct towards those customers. But I really liked seeing your solution as well, how you're utilizing it, and then certainly the Conga Conductor solution. So my pleasure now to introduce Jason Cook from Sputnik Moment, and he will begin his presentation. So Jason, take it away. It's all yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to Annette for that very exciting presentation. There's a lot of good information in there. It seems like there's really no end to what can be done with Conga, and that's something that I feel like I'm testing with my clients every day. They're constantly coming up with some new creative use case that they want to see implemented. And part of that is maybe because Sputnik Moments, we work exclusively with nonprofit customers. If you want to go ahead and jump to the first slide there. I'm sorry, that's a lie. We have one client who is a for-profit business. Everyone else is nonprofit. And as you can see in this list, not to jump around in my own bolded list, but we have over 250 successful projects across 120 different clients. So we've worked with a fair amount of nonprofit organizations at this point. And a couple other bits of information about us. I'll go ahead and jump to the top of the list again. We were founded in 2007 by Pierre Kaluzny. Before that, we were known as Frasny Consulting. And I have now been with Sputnik Moment for about 2 years. And it's been a wild 2 years. I was not involved with Salesforce at all before that, so it was new to me out of the gate, but I feel like I've picked it up pretty fast, even though there is a lot to learn. And certainly, again, Conga does make our jobs easier every day. Oh yeah, one other thing here. We do have a current 5-star rating on the App Exchange, which I guess is a pretty big deal. I don't know. We're happy with it. So let me see, let's go ahead and go to the next slide, if you don't mind. So what's different about nonprofits? The first thing really is it's called Salesforce, but nonprofits generally aren't selling anything, so it's sort of confusing right off the bat. For example, I've never used an opportunity product. I've never once touched an opportunity product. I've never had a client ask about it. But we use opportunities all the time. We use opportunities for grants, for donations, for ticket sales. So with Salesforce itself is extremely useful for nonprofits. It just is a bit of a shift in the way we think about how Salesforce works. For the uses of Conga, for example, we primarily use thank you letters for donations. We use a lot of electronic signatures, which is a feature built into Conga. We'll cover that in a little bit. We use those a lot for grant approvals. And we also use a lot of reporting. I find people are very happy with the custom reports that can be built with Conga queries and templates because they can often save you a couple of steps. And we'll go into more details on that a little bit later. The last thing that I'll cover today is going to be a custom solution that we created that allows multiple document generation created with the click of a single button on a related list view. You can simply checkbox the records that you want to create a document for, hit the button, and it'll create a unique document for each individual record. It's a pretty powerful tool we came up with the help of the people over at Conga, of course. So if you want to go ahead on to the next slide, we can talk about thank you letters a little more. So we primarily, our clients, they accept a lot of donations. They're nonprofits. They're always, trying to encourage people to help out with a cause of one sort or another. And a lot of these people will do yearly donations. So they're not necessarily, it's not a one-time. They're just saying, like every month I'm donating $100 for a year. So they set that up, they deduct that automatically, and these people know they're donating $100 every month. They don't need to see a letter sent out every single month. So there's features built into the Conga query system that allow you to just automatically sum up all the donations within a sort of specific range, and you can display that as a sum amount in the letter and send it out so that once a year they're going to get a personalized letter that says, thank you for your donations totaling this amount over the course of this year. It's a useful feature. and it makes it so that you don't have to think about sending out a letter every single month. In a way, it's kind of more meaningful as well, because if someone's they're getting a donation or a letter sent out every month as soon as their donation's automatically debited from their account, it's obvious that that's just a machine doing it. That doesn't really mean much to them, probably. And the other thing that we like doing about this, again, and I'm going to mention this a couple more times, and I apologize about that, is our ability that we came up with for our customers to create these in bulk from either a custom link or a custom button, which we'll go over at the end. And the last thing about this is, since we use JavaScript for these custom links and buttons, we can update field values in the record when the button is clicked. So for example, if we have, a contact where we just put a field in there, like a pick list that says, has the yearly donation been sent out for this contact? It says no. We just create a list view for that, select all of those contacts. We go ahead and click the button to generate the documents. It creates a letter for every single contact. We download it. They can print them out. They can mail them out. And all those contacts are instantly updated in Salesforce. Pretty powerful stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to the electronic signatures. Thank you. Another thing that we've seen a lot, and this is actually something that we've started using in our own Salesforce org as well, is having electronic signatures performed. Well, electronic, obviously. Sorry, I was about to be redundant there. Basically, through the Conga Partners Certify and DocuSign, and there might be a couple others, I'm not sure. These are the two that we're using. We can create a document that has a spot for a signature. We send it out to a client, say for a grant approval. So if they send in requests for a grant, all the paperwork looks good. We can have our client then send something out to them that says, sign this, signifying that you're going to take this grant and perform such and such with it. They sign it electronically. They just click a link, open it up from their email, and that immediately, as soon as it's signed, whoever sent the document out can get an email notifying them it's been signed. It can update a status in Salesforce. And we then also created a custom trigger that will allow us to update information in Salesforce on an opportunity or a contact record as soon as that signature comes through. So we can create tasks from that. We can send other emails out. There's any number of things we can do. It's great for reporting. But basically, it greatly increases the efficiency. It reduces the amount of time this whole process takes, because everything can be done remotely. You don't even need to talk to a person over the phone realistically if you don't want to. I don't know why you wouldn't want to, but hey, that's on you. All right, so that's our document signing. That's, like I said, a great tool. We do use it personally for our clients. For sending out invoices, things like that. It's amazing technology. It's pretty cool, right? Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, if you don't mind. So let me see. Oh, right, reporting. That was the other thing that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, I'm sure everyone here is aware that Salesforce has its own reporting. It's built in. In fact, it's got a pretty big update coming across, something they were talking about a lot at Dreamforce this year, if any of you were there. But sometimes, I don't know, maybe it doesn't work for you. Maybe there are too many steps involved. Maybe you want something that's just a bit more streamlined. That's been the case for a couple of our clients, where they like the ability to basically click one link and instantaneously download a PDF report. They can just have a sidebar link that will query a number of opportunities over a certain date range, put them all into a repeating document, and then it can download that document. It can download it as an Excel spreadsheet, or it can download it as a PDF, which is useful in a lot of cases because maybe you need a report that you don't want anyone to be able to edit. You just want to be able to download a PDF and mail it out to some people. Additionally, like this wouldn't necessarily have to be downloaded. You could include in the custom link that you're building instructions to send down email to a preset list of people. So instead of having to go through, don't get me wrong, you can create custom report links in Salesforce, but like I said, we've had several clients that just find this to be a preferable solution. It's fast, it's easy, and it's essentially foolproof once it's properly configured. Okay, so let's go ahead, I think, and move on now to the, I believe the custom, yes, the bulk document creation I mentioned. Perfect. So this I built personally with a lot of help from the people at Conga. Essentially, this came about because we had a client. They didn't want to have to go through a lot of steps. They didn't want to have to go through like Conductor or anything like this. No offense to Conductor, it's a great product, but they just wanted a button. They wanted just a button that they could click and they could create a bunch of documents based on all the records they had checked in a list view. So I've recreated this in a generic capacity to just be basically a list view of opportunities, or rather, a list view of opportunities. So this would allow you to then checkbox all these opportunities that you wanted to print, and it would consolidate them all into a single document for each contact. So it's just going to match up all the contacts. It's going to say, okay, well, you selected 3 for Pierre and 1 for Jason in this case. And so the Pierre, it's going to show a list view on that document of the itemized donations. It's also going to show a sum. It's going to do the same thing for Jason. It's going to do the same thing for however many contacts you have listed. And then it's also going to, if you want it to, again, perform an update on field values for those opportunities. You know, you can say donation closed, thank you sent, whatever you want to call it, it's going to take care of that. So before we go on to the next slide, one other kind of little tricky bit that I wanted to point out here is the query that is used for this. Sometimes queries can be a bit confusing. I know I've been confused personally by them before. And what I've put in this note here, query the lowest level object, and sorry, these are a little bit rough. They were taken from a blog post that I put up on our website a couple weeks back. Basically what that means is you want to query what the multiple, like the child object. So if you have a contact that has 20 opportunities, another one that has, like I said, you know, multiple opportunities per contact, then you're going to build your query on the opportunity because that's the lowest level object, and you're going to work your way up from there. We go into a bit more depth in this on my blog post, and also since the Conga people are the ones that taught me this, I'm sure they would be more than happy to give you any kind of instruction you might need on that as well. So if we go ahead and move on to the next slide, I just real quick want to give a generic impression of what this template looks like. And again, this is generic. Don't like take this and copy it into your system. It's not going to work. Basically what we have here is you can see you have the upper section, which is thanking a specific contact, and it's going to show the sum amount of all their donations over whatever year you've chosen to print these thank you letters for. And then within that, you're going to have an inner table that's going to be the itemized list. And so the inner table is going to be the query. That's going to be your query data. So that's what you're building the query for. You're building it for the opportunities, and then they're going to be grouped by the contact ID in this case. And then that's what the table group start does and table group end. That is specific to the actual contact. So this is basically iterating through a list of contacts, and then the table inside is going to iterate through their list of opportunities. You can sort by opportunity date or amount. You can, I mean, it all happens automatically. It's painless and super easy. Another thing that I don't have a slide for, unfortunately, because I didn't really want to get into the JavaScript details. I figured that was going to become a bit messy. Another thing I really like about this is the button can be dynamic. We have another client that uses this for creating invoices to fill stock in a warehouse, and they have 2 locations. They have one in Boston, one in Philadelphia. And so they have to have 2 different queries, 2 different templates, because they have different letterhead that they want to use for these. And this allows the same button to look at the user account, see what the user's location is it Boston, is it Philly, and then dynamically choose only the reports, the records that match that location, and then choose the template that matches that location and generate all the documents for their location. You don't have to have two buttons. We don't have to have separate views, no different page layouts, nothing. It's just one dynamic button. So that to me is a pretty awesome tool. And I wish that I could take the time to show everyone what the JavaScript would look like on that, but I think it'd just be messy. I'd get even more confused than I already am right now, and it would not do any of you any favors. So instead of that, let's just move on to my mock-up of what the results for this would look like. As you can see here, I only chose a result for myself. I did not show Pierre's donations here. They're all made up anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But basically, you can see your standard Conga merge fields. You have thank you, you have the primary contact name, and this amount, 1,300, is the automatically summed amount of the 3 donations I made for the entire year of 2013. So right in your Conga query, you can tell it that I want to sum up the amount and return that. I mean, it's awesome. It's done for you. It's automatic. And then we have also the itemized list, which is, you know, if you don't need it, that's great. You could do this in a much more simplistic fashion if you don't need an itemized list. But I don't know. I think it's nice to have both. I think it, and maybe it doesn't necessarily apply to this the thank you letter formation, but there, you know, we have 3 or 4 clients where we're using this kind of repeating nested list already. There's just, to me, there are infinite uses for it, and it's all made possible by the people at Conga. It's such a time saver. It's insane. One other thing I wanted to point out here is in my sample, like the template that I had, you could kind of see that I had borders on there. That was just to show you how things have to be broken into a group. You can hide the borders. You don't have to go with any kind of ugly 90s website formatting. It doesn't have to look like a MySpace page. You can hide the borders. You can do anything you want with the template, same as any other Conga template you've ever built, or really any Word document you've ever made. There's really no limitation. It's just all bonuses once you set this up and figure out how to make it work. So I'm not sure how much time I took up there, but I think that I covered pretty much everything that I wanted to show. Basically, what I'm trying to leave you with here is just the impression that nonprofits maybe have somewhat different and creative uses for Conga, and because of that, I've had to think a little bit, to use a cliche, outside of the box in my dealings with Conga and nonprofits, and I hoped that maybe I would have some unique insight that I could share with all of you because of that. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Jason, thanks so much. Really enjoyed seeing the variety of, from the nonprofit side, how you're able to utilize Conga Composer and Conga Conductor in a couple different ways. Certainly the kind of combined annual donation letters, using the e-signature solution and running that Conga Conductor process from a list view. A really great variety of uses of the Conga suite today from Annette and from Jason in different applications, but really kind of using all of the features and functions of Conga Composer and Conga Conductor. So great examples of Conga Composer. Wanted to let you know, please reach out to our partners to help with any Salesforce, Conga projects, other AppExchange implementations or product implementations you're looking for. These are our go-to partners as alliance partners. They have, this is just kind of a quick little snippet of their experience and types of projects they've done. We certainly want you to use these folks as a resource in all of your Salesforce and AppExchange requirements. Also, if you choose to get started and do some things on your own, we've got a lot of resources to help you from Conga as well. From our Conga Sphere webinars and documentation to videos, quick start guides, also Conga University. It's a whole variety of resources that you can utilize also. And by all means, you know, reach out to our business analyst team. most of you know, and Annette and Jason can really speak to how we work with you and work with our partners. It's a great group of folks, so please utilize our Conga resources as well. And with that, that concludes our Conga Alliance Partner Showcase webinar. As I mentioned, this webinar will be available and up on our website shortly. Please join us next week on November 19th for our next installment. Thank you very much for participating, and have a great rest of the day.